All right, so welcome back, everyone, to another Course in Miracles teaching session. We are making our way through chapter 2 and learning more and more deeply what the atonement is. What is this process of waking up from this hell that we're living in, and finding the healing that we're looking for, right? How do we fill this void, this dark, deep, excruciating void that we have within our soul, right? That we're trying to fill with God knows what within this world, right? With careers, relationships, health, wellness, family, trying to arrange all the deck chairs on the Titanic as we're inevitably doomed to fail, right? And we just run into this time and time again that we run into disappointment, despair, dissatisfaction, unending desire, right? That is never quite satisfied. Yeah. Screaming in the shower can sometimes be what we want to do, but even that never really fixes things, right? It doesn't really make us happy. So what we're adventuring on here is to look at the real source of the problem, to look at healing in a radically new way, and to start to see that our previous view of healing, right, which is to fix the problem, to fix the apparent disease in a body, right, or it might be to fix all the zeros or the negative numbers in our bank account, right? If I can just fix those problems, if I can just change that image on the screen, then I'll be happy. But it's not true, and I think we've all experienced that, right? Even if you did get that, it's just another problem shows up in another way. And so in order for us to be able to access this deeper level of healing, we first need to realize what the problem really is. And that's what our lesson today is going to invite us into, which is to delve into another aspect of what really is healing. What are we really looking for? What is the problem, so that we can actually know how to solve it. And that's what the course is going to help us delve into a little bit today. All right, I'm just going to share my screen here. Great. So this is chapter 2, section 4, which is healing as release from fear, right? So it's inviting us to this new understanding that healing is not what we think of on the outside. That healing really is release from fear. And if we can really delve into that next layer of understanding why that's true, we can actually start to get the hang of this. Okay, let's read through. So our emphasis is now on healing. The miracle is the means, the atonement is the principle, the correction of our mind, and healing is the result. To speak of a miracle of healing is to combine two orders of reality inappropriately. Healing is not a miracle. The atonement, or the final miracle, is a remedy, and any type of healing is the result of that remedy. The kind of error to which atonement is applied is irrelevant. All healing is essentially the release from fear. Okay. So what he's saying here is that if we have our focus on the result, we're gonna get we're not going to be able to get what we're looking for. So this is the example, like the classic example, right, of having mud all over your face, and you look in the mirror and you're trying to wipe the mud off your face by wiping at the mirror, right? And it doesn't work, right? You feel like you're doing something, but it doesn't work. It doesn't clean your face, right? So if you're looking to clean your face, if that's one of your problems that needs healing, you first need to learn that you can't do it by trying to fix the mirror. And that's what we do with anything of when we try to change the world to try to make us happy. We're either putting something on the face, maybe you're putting like a little block or a screen, so I can't see my muddy face, right? We do that with projection or whatnot. Or we get another mirror that projects the mud over onto somebody else's face or whatever. Like it doesn't work. It doesn't get rid of the mud, right? That's what we really want. What we think is we want to see a clean face. And maybe, yeah, okay, maybe that's something we want. But the the only way to do that is to look within, right? To look at ourselves. And then the world, which is a reflection of our mind on the inside, will then result of that, right? So when we clean our face, then we will see a mirror. We will see a clean world, right? A clean face in the mirror. And Jesus himself used this analogy, and I think this is a helpful analogy, right? Of looking at when he says, don't, I forget the exact wording of it, but uh, you who see a splinter in your brother's eye, fail to see the log in your own eye, right? So if you first have to clear the log out of your own eye, and then you will have the ability, you'll be able to see clearly to be able to take the splinter out of your brother's eye. But what he doesn't really say, and I think this is kind of something that can be added and that's a little more helpful with the mirror analogy, is that as soon as you clear the log out of your own eye, you actually then see that there never was a splinter in your brother's eye. It was just the log in your own eye that was like you're seeing it in the lens of your eye and you thought it was in your brother, but really it was in your own eye, right? And I think Jesus was kind of using that as to coax you along, right? Okay, you don't, it's not that you never need, like he was inviting us to learn that on our own, because he knows for a fact that as soon as you clear the log out of your own eye, the splinter's already gone out of your brother. So you don't, that you, after you've given up judgment, once you've seen the Christ in yourself and remembered who you really are, you can't help but see that within your brother, and you will see the innocence within him as well. So then there's actually no need for correction after that, really. Okay, so let's keep going here. So all healing is essentially the release from fear. To undertake this, you cannot be fearful yourself. You do not understand healing because of your own fear. Okay, so this is really key. This is really key, especially if you want to delve deeper into the mind in the sense of starting to understand the feeling, like getting the intuitive sense of what is healing. Because I really feel like feeling your pain, feeling your emotions, feeling your emotional state is a really important key in understanding what your experience is and what you're actually believing, right? And not just kind of accepting things intellectually. So because all healing is released from fear, the miracle is the replacement of fear within the projector of our mind and bringing on the remembrance of ourselves as spirit, as one with God, as always loving, as imperturbable and unable to be harmed or harm anyone else. And that is our eternal innocence. And so when you replace fear and separation with that then results in healing. That it results, so the real miracle is the switch from fear to love. That is the miracle. that is where our focus needs to be, not on fixing the deck chairs in the Titanic, right? But the result of that will be an experience of oneness, an experience of love, an experience of joining with your brother and healing, right? And it will be healing on a deep level, not just a fixing of an external problem that's only going to pop up again. This is a deep level healing. And so what most people do when we see a problem and we want to use magic, including spiritual magic of some kind, is we react to problems, we react to sicknesses with fear, right? And so the example of this would be, oh my God, my brother's sick. He has cancer. Oh my God, he's going to die. I need to get to work. I need to start healing. I need to start praying, you know, that he will be healed, right? And so what that is, if you can feel your way into it, it's like, oh my God, he actually is a body. He actually is vulnerable, and he's going to die this horrible death, right? And be separated from me forever. That's the real belief there. So, oh my God, I need to stop that. So it doesn't work because you've reinforced the fear. You've reinforced that your brother is not the Holy Son of God, right? That he needs healing, right? So that's kind of the irony here, a little bit, is that when you see a brother as sick, as bankrupt, as destitute, as having a problem of any kind, the problem is within your mind. And that this is where it's a deep level, very meta kind of problem, but really the problem is within your mind, right? It is your mind that is seeing him as sick. You're the one dreaming him as sick. So the problem is not even in your brother's mind, that he's seeing himself as sick and he needs to pick up A Course in Miracles and learn some spiritual lessons. Oh my God, we need to help this man so he stops hurting himself, right? No, it's you. So so that's where this course really, it's a little scary a little bit when we start to pick it up and when we start to really delve deeply into it, because eventually we need to learn that we're responsible for everything we see. It's not that I'm this Patrick character and I need to heal Patrick, and so if Patrick gets sick, then okay, that's my responsibility to heal, but not the other characters within Patrick's dream. No, Patrick is just one character among many. And so on some level, it's my mind that is sick, right? That is seeing people as these bodies that can die, that are separate, that are sometimes close to you and in a good relationship with you, and other times they hate your guts, or even if they don't hate your guts, they just leave, right? They either die or they move away, and all of a sudden your wonderful relationship with them is gone, right? So that's this separation is built into this, and that separation is in my mind. So the fear, the belief in this world, the belief in bodies at all, healthy bodies or sick bodies, is a sickness within my mind. So it can be scary. Like, honestly, it can be very scary, because when we start to wake up to this level of things, there can be a lot of guilt, because any kind of evil, any kind of atrocity, any kind of illness that is there within my dream, meaning the whole world, the whole universe, all of history, all of it was put there by me and you. In as much as we're all one mind, right? That is believing itself to be separate. But it was put there purposefully. Purposefully. We wanted it. We wanted the sickness. We want the war. We want the crimes and the atrocities and the tragedies and the illnesses and the death, and we love it. We actually do. And I've like it that took me quite a while to start to understand that we love it. And it's that's very scary and very disturbing to a lot of people when that first starts to emerge into the mind. Uh, because in order to be able to heal, we first need to understand that we don't want to heal. We want people to be sick. We want victims and victimizers. We want evil and atrocities and death within the world. But the question is why? And it makes no sense to the ego as a Patrick character, right? Who's trying to be a good little person within the world and trying to do the right thing, and all the evil governments coming after him and whatnot, right? But no, from the deeper part of our mind, absolutely we love it. And I notice it even myself as I watch true crime or whatever, right? And I see all the evildoers, like framing somebody for murder or whatever, and setting them up and lies and the atrocity and the injustice, and they get away with it, and cops cover up for other cops, um and there's injustice there and whatnot. But behind it, there's this pleasure, right? And how do we make sense of that? How do we how do we get that? How do we understand that we are no different from Jeffrey Dahmer or Hitler or whoever else you see as the evil within the world? We are no different, and we not only have put those figures there, but we love every minute of it. Okay, so I wanted to kind of use a little bit of an analogy in delving into this. Oh, I don't know what happened there. Okay, so imagine you have this is gonna be a mild example, I guess, but imagine you have an exam due. Oh, sorry, no, a project for school or whatever, and it's a big project. It's worth like 60% of your grade, and you've been procrastinating on it for quite a while, and you're really afraid of doing the work, and you're not afraid, you don't know if you can really do it, and you're gonna feel really guilty if you fail this class, right? And it's gonna ruin your career, and you won't get your degree and whatnot, right? So all those thoughts are going there. But you've developed a little bit of an addiction maybe to video games, right? And so you use video games to kind of procrastinate from that project, right? That's there within your mind. You know you need to work on it. You feel really guilty that you haven't done it, but you're afraid that if you do it, you're going to be exposed as not being good enough to finish your degree or whatever, right? So these are things that I experienced in university. Uh, but so within that experience of my life, um, that's very painful, right? And so when you're procrastinating for these things, you look for anything to kind of distract you, right? It might be TV, but let's use the example of a video game as one thing to distract you from that. So within that video game, um, we're playing and we're fighting other people or whatnot, but imagine a video game where you get really sucked into it. And within that video game, you're all of a sudden you're so bought into it that your self-worth is bought into it, and you really want to win that video game and whatnot. When you're within that experience, where you're fighting other people, but you're also getting killed yourself, and yeah, sometimes you get killed, but it really and it bothers you and you get upset about it, but there's a part of you that kind of likes it. Actually, the more intense it is and the more frustrated you are within that game, there's actually some pleasure within that. And even if and the more kind of awful the game is, you can think of like Grand Theft Auto, right? Where you're just kind of shooting hookers and, destroying people and killing them left, right, and center or whatever. The more disturbing the game is and the more awful kind of on some level, the more, and maybe the more unjust and just vile the game is, tantalizing on that level, um, as much as it's kind of abhorrent to a normal uh, conscience, um, there's a deep pleasure that you get from that. And the reason why is because the more sucked into it you get, and actually even the more pain that you experience within that game, even if it's you're losing the game or whatever, you're actually loving it on a different level because it's distracting you from your project that you have due, right? That is actually bothering you even more. So there's a deeper pain within you. And anytime the game gets boring or there's less kind of drama within that game, um, what happens is the memory of your project that's due tomorrow, right, starts to creep back into your mind, right? And so there's a part of us that loves like killing and being killed and, atrocity and whatnot within that game, because the more enthralling it is and even the more painful it is, either for myself or for the other people that I've gotten them killed off in the game or whatever, uh the more it distracts you and pulls you away from that painful thought of that project that you have due in the morning, right? And so when the game gets kind of boring, or you realize that you're not really in it, um, the pain of that thought of that project, that deadline that came up, emerges back within your mind. And so sometimes people get addicted to games, right? And often it is because they have some other pain or whatever within their life, something that it distracts them from. And even if they hate their life within the game, or it destroys them and they stop sleeping or whatever, they'll keep going with it because it's distracting them from a deeper pain that emerges when they're no longer within it. So how do we get out of that? How do we really heal within this video game, right? And okay, because we talk about this a lot, right? Because like if we're coming back to our real life, I guess within this stream, how do we wake up? And a big part of it, a big part of this lesson that is, I think, has been really key in my ability to wake up more. Not that I don't get sucked in all the time, I do, but we need to realize that how much we don't want to wake up, how much pain and how much we love to get sucked into the drama of this world, and the world of suffering and of death and of being separate bodies that are constantly disappointed and suffering within the world. We need to realize how much we love it because of the deeper pain of separation that it's distracting us from, that it is pulling our mind away from. And so it's not until we're willing to look at that, we're willing to look at the guilt, the guilt within our mind from the separation from God, from one another, from oneness, that this world was created from. This world was created, the entire world, all the good, the bad, the ugly, Jesus, sunsets, um, love, children, all of it was created as an attack thought to try to find some sort of happiness within an evil world that's separate from God, right? It's not possible, but all of it is here to try to pull us away from that because of the pain that's within us. And so what the course is inviting us to is, instead of just trying to switch the video game, right? Change the characters or start a new round of the video game, right? Where we can, okay, all of a sudden we got all our lives back and we can, restart the game. And it seems like we're starting from square one, but we're really not. We're stuck within a world that it will never, ever satisfy us. And so when we're talking about healing, we need to realize that our idea of healing is wrong. What we're praying for is to get our lives back, right? To heal the injury in the video game character instead of going back to the real world. And so that's what the course and what is inviting us to reevaluate here, because when we're praying for healing, we're praying to go another round in the video game, to get our our energy boosted up or whatever, and to get a new life within the video game. And that will never ever make us happy. That will never lead to our awakening and our remembrance of our oneness and joy and bliss that is our real inheritance. And so it's super key to understand that the real problem is not the death, destruction, the atrocities within the world. Those are not what actually need healing. Those are just external manifestations of a deep, deep, painful, horrifying lack within us when we believed falsely that we separated from God and we became this hollow entity within ourselves that is devoid of all that is good, all that is powerful, all that is innocent. And that's what we're trying to find within this world, and it's not possible. And so that pain is what we really need to get in touch with, because that's the real problem. And how do we do that? Well, we look within the world, we look at the problems, we look at all the specifics, and you sit with the pain that's behind it and allow it to grow. Allow it to grow. And we say, I'm never upset for the reason I think, because our real upset is something much deeper that actually makes us want, crave all of the evil and the awfulness and the pain and the suffering within the world, because at least we don't need to feel the horrifying guilt and terror that we feel around the belief that we murdered God and separated and became lost, went from oneness and peace to this wretched nothingness. And so that is so horrifying that it makes all of the evil, all of the suffering, all of the disease, all of the things feel wonderful. you know? And so when you can realize that, that's when we were like, oh, okay, wait a second. I wanted this. And so that means I can undo it. Because the secret to salvation is but this, right? That you have done this to yourself. And part of it is not just to realize, okay, well, okay, this is an awful thing. This is this disease or whatever that I have or my neighbor has. And so I want to undo it. But we have to realize the other part of it, right? Why did I do it to myself? Why does it feel good? Why do I love it? And it sounds crazy, but it makes total sense when you feel how the depth and the horribleness of the pain of separation. And when we realize that we get closer to that deeper layer, that's where the problem can be solved, because the problem already was solved. We never did separate. And so actually, as you get closer to that pain, as you get closer to that problem, you're actually much closer to the peace and the love and the joy, because once you look at it and you realize that it makes no sense, God cannot create something that can separate from him. God cannot create something that is not as a loving, powerful, eternal, and unchanging as he is. When we look at it and realize the ridiculousness of it, and we can laugh at it, it actually dissolves, but we don't want to look at it. And so that's the problem. And so that's the level of healing that we really need. And when we heal at that level, replace the fear with the love, which only the Holy Spirit can do, because we can't do it as egos, right? The Holy Spirit is us, but it's the part of us that remembers the oneness. Okay. All right, so that was a big kind of a diversion, but it's gonna play out in this chapter anyway. Okay, so a major step in the atonement plan is to undo error at all levels. Sickness or not right-mindedness, right? So when we're seeing with the eyes of the ego, we're seeing with the eyes of separation, sin, guilt, and fear, sickness is the result. It is the result of level confusion, because it always entails the belief that what is amiss on one level can adversely affect another. So essentially, so what are the levels? The levels are of the world, or the mirror within us, right? So the world, which is the body, government, politics, the earth, whatnot, wherever we see all of our problems, where it might be the body where we see a pain or a disease or something. And what we think is that that world exists outside of our mind, right? And so what we've done is we've taken our power as the dreamer, as the Holy Son of God, and we said, this world is what made me. I had parents that gave birth to me and that traumatized me as a child, and gave me all of my problems that I now have within my life, right? And so what we've done is we've pushed the power of our own mind, which is the guilt, right? That all of my problems are actually coming from the world. And so we've taken this reflection of us, the mirror, that you're the problem, you're the cause of all my pain, and of what's good and what's bad within my life and the world. And you're the one that determines whether I'm happy or peaceful or happy. And so it's the belief that the world has a power of its own that's outside of my mind and then can affect my mind and bring me out of oneness, peace, love, and eternity. So we have referred to miracles as the means of correcting level confusion, for all mistakes must be corrected at the level on which they occur, right? So as long as we believe that the world has a power of its own, that the body is sick, and that's the reason why I'm in misery, it's not because of the belief in separation within my mind, then reflecting a world of disease, despair, death, and evil and whatnot. Miracles they bring the power back into the mind. They're the realization, wait a second, this pain is not actually coming from the problems within the world. It's not coming from this awful economy or the evil prime minister or the tax man who's coming to take away all my income. The problem is actually within my mind, that the belief that I'm separate from others, that there's good and evil within the world. And it's the remembrance of oneness. So miracles bring the problem and the power back into the mind. So they correct level confusion. And so when we realize that our pain, our suffering, all of our misery is happening within our mind. Actually, the whole world is happening within my mind. And so my mind is the one that needs to be healed. And that's where the miracle can really do the work. Wait a second, I'm in the state of fear. I'm feeling separate from God, separate from everyone, separate from my neighbor. The problem is within my mind in this feeling of separation. Let me sit with that and ask for that, my mind to be healed, that is reflecting all of these problems and misery. That's where the problem can actually be solved. Once we realize the problem is within our mind, that's when we have the ability to choose again. We can choose to see with the Holy Spirit, to choose to see with the eyes of peace, with the eyes of love. And that is what will transform and bring healing. So only the mind is capable of error, right? The world is not capable of causing suffering, of going wrong, of being amiss. Only the mind is capable of error of any kind. And it's only the one mind, which means that it's only my mind. The body can act wrongly only when it is responding to misthought. The body cannot create. And the belief that it can, a fundamental error, produces all physical symptoms. So within any physical symptoms that you're experiencing, how does that need to be healed? It first need to understand that the problem is not in the body. The problem is within my mind. and I've projected that onto the body as the cause of my pain, the cause of my misery. And so we need to realize, wait a second, there's a deeper pain within my mind, and that's why I've chosen to experience and bring into my dream a pain within my body, because that feels better than this deep, horrifying guilt that I feel within my mind, that I don't want to experience at all, right? I'd much rather have knee pain, joint pain, cancer, right? Or whatever it might be. Or I might choose to see that within somebody else. Okay. So the body cannot create. Physical illness represents a belief in magic. It's the belief that the world can affect my peace within my mind. It can affect my own experience rather than my own mind creating that experience on the outside. The whole distortion that made magic rests on the belief that there is creative ability in matter, which the mind cannot control. This error can take two forms. It can be believed that the mind can miscreate in the body, or that the body can miscreate in the mind. When it is understood that the mind, the only level of creation, cannot create beyond itself, neither type of confusion need occur. So again, there's a belief that there's an external world and that the mind can miscreate or project into the body, or that the body can therefore cause a disturbance within our mind. The truth is that there is no world, right? And so the world is just a reflection of what's going on within our mind. So when we realize that all there is mind, all there is spirit, these distortions begin to be healed. Only the mind can create because spirit has already been created, and the body is a learning device for the mind. So again, a big part of this distortion too, because even when we accept the fact that we're a mind, like, right, I'm not really this Patrick character, I'm not really a body, I am a mind, but within that, before Patrick was even created, there's still the separation, right? There's deeper layers. Even when you've given up, okay, I'm not Patrick, I am the dreamer of the dream. You're not, you haven't gone back to heaven yet, just there, right? Because I'm the dreamer of a nightmare, right? It's a horrifying, horrible nightmare, right? That is full of misery, death, and disappointment, right? So what's going on there? That because there is still the belief that this mind can create on its own, right? That I can make myself whatever I want to be, right? But that implies an imperfection, right? Why do you need to change yourself? Why do you need to create a world? What are you seeking to do? You're seeking to still fill that void. So that void is still within our mind when we're dreaming that dream, right? We're still have that, the problem is still this belief in separation, that we're separate from oneness, we're separate from God, and that we are not one with the loving, all-powerful creator. And so therefore, we're dreaming a world that we think we can change, and that we can, well, that didn't work out, so I'm going to dream up a new life that's going to, I'm going to learn a different lesson and or whatever, fix a different problem. So it's the belief that this mind can create on its own. It can't. That's our problem, right? There is no on its own, because that on its ownness is a belief in separation, right? Apart from something else. All there is love. All there is God. All there is spirit. And so once we realize that we are created by love, and that's our true nature and nothing else can be, then we realize that, oh, wait, so okay, I'm the dreamer of the dream, but I can't be dreaming up this nightmare of separation. That can't be true. And so then that dissolves the dream of separation. because we realize that I am not the body, I am free. I remain as God created me, as love created me. Therefore, oh, wait, I still am this loving outflow or extension of love, of creative love. And that's when we wake up, right? So it's not just enough to be the dreamer of the dream. We need to realize that we can't create ourselves. We have been created by love. Okay, so only the mind can create because spirit has already been created by love, and body is a learning device for the mind. So this is where this is learning again is only a part of the dream. It's still part of the illusion. But when we're ready to wake up, the Holy Spirit will invite us to a new interpretation. And when we can realize, okay, wait, this body and the world that it seems to live in, what's the purpose here? It's the purpose of it is not to make my own life and try to make myself happy as an ego without God, without love, without oneness, without spirit. Um, but it is rather we can reinterpret all the little things, all the things within the world, and we realize, oh, wait, all of these are for forgiveness. All of these are for atonement or the learning, the correction of my mind to bring me home. And so when we can switch the purpose of everything, and we can say, hey, look, this disappointment or misconnection with a friend this morning, the purpose seemed to cause me disappointment or whatever because I thought it was to make me happy and to be a social being within the world. No, okay, wait, my body and my experience this morning was actually meant for forgiveness and to remember that I and this other friend are actually spirit. And and so that disappointment can be transformed into a forgiveness opportunity and to connect with the Christ within them that I can never lose. And I am always one with them, and it doesn't depend on being physically close at any time. And so that can heal, so that the body and its experiences, often of disappointment or of pain or of misconnection or whatever, is actually can be transformed into, wait a second, the purpose of my body and of all bodies and of everything within this world is for forgiveness. When I use all of them to correct my mind, I can use the pain that I experience within the world as, oh wait, that's a calling for love. That is something within my mind where I'm not extending love there. And so the body and its whole world that it lives in, because they go together, is only for forgiveness. And there's nothing that will make us happy other than using the body for forgiveness. So learning devices are not lessons in themselves. Their purpose is merely to facilitate learning. The worst a faulty use of learning device can do is to fail to facilitate learning, right? So this learning is forgiveness of remembering who we are, which is the atonement. It has no power in itself to introduce actual learning errors. The body, if properly understood, shares the invulnerability of the atonement in two-edged application. It is not because the body is a miracle, but because it is not inherently open to misinterpretation. The body is merely part of your experience in the physical world. Its abilities can be and frequently are over-evaluated. However, it is almost impossible to deny its existence in this world. Those who do so are engaging in a particularly unworthy form of denial. The term unworthy here implies only that it is not necessary to protect the mind by being unmindful. If one denies this unfortunate aspect of the mind's power, one is also denying the power itself. So what I believe he's saying here is that what needs to happen is that this body, it's not that we just deny it, right? And we're like, okay, well, I'm not really a body, so I'm going to ignore what I'm experiencing. What happens is a gradual transformation of our experience of ourselves as a body. And so as we practice forgiveness, as we switch in the little things and the big things, we switch our mind from fear to love. What eventually happens is not so much that um, we deny our experience of the body, but the body, we then slowly start to realize that we're kind of just this extension of love, right? So as we practice forgiveness, the love begins to flow. And then what I previously thought I was as Patrick, I realized that Patrick thing is actually just the nexus of my extension. So the people who show up within Patrick's life then transform slowly from people who just seem to happen within this external world to actually these seeming beings that I extend love to and who extend love to me. And then what that is it what drops away is this world, and it's replaced with it's not really replaced because it was always there, but the truth of heaven, which is this communion and extension of love with the people that we seem to be around us within a world, right? So it's not so I think what he's inviting us to here is often what happens is when we're beginning this awakening process, we sometimes think, well, there is no world, right? So none of it is everything. Everything is illusion, right? But look at the feeling behind that, right? If that's bringing you to a space of emptiness, then you haven't quite gotten it, right? Because it's not simply that well, there's nobody else out there, you know what I mean? I'm just here alone, right? It's all just me. If that's how you feel and it feels empty, then you're not right. If you're saying that, but you're realizing you're actually one with everyone, and yeah, maybe the everyone is not really separate people, but we're an extension and an outflowing, and there's uh, a communion, a joining with others in a way that feels you makes you it's interpersonal, but not in a separate way, right? It's an outflowing of love and communion with others. That's kind of what it should feel like. So when you realize there's nobody else out there because I'm one with everyone and we're close in a loving communion with them, that's when you realize, okay, that's the kind of there's no world, there is nothing else out there because all that is out there is really the beautiful extensions of love that are one with me, right? So it's this giving, loving, creative extension, right? So if you're just out there being like, oh, bodies aren't really real, your sickness is just an illusion, so why don't you stop? You know, so it's not that this empty denialism of the world is not really it. It should be instead a transformation of what seemed to be suffering and awfulness and separation to communion, joining, love, and peace. Okay. So all material means that you accept as remedies for bodily ills are restatements of magic principles, right? The belief that the world is what makes me happy. So the sickness is what causes the pain within my mind, rather than my tormented, separated mind choosing to rather experience a lesser pain within the dream so that I don't need to feel my deep, deep pain and guilt. So therefore, if I just get a power boost, right? You know, you get your lives refilled in the game, then I'll be happy, right? Rather than actually waking up and remembering that you're the Holy Son of God. So magic, which is going to the doctor, breathing, eating, anything you do within the world really is magic. But it's the belief that we can rearrange the deck chairs in the Titanic and then we'll make us happy and we'll feel safe. But it's just delusional. But we do it as long as we believe that we're really here. So this is the first step in believing the body makes its own illness, right, rather than the mind. It is a second misstep to attempt to heal it through non-creative agents, to heal it through outside the mind, right, through pills, through surgery, through breathing. So yeah, it's not a judgment thing, right? So being like, oh, nobody should ever use medicine or whatever. It's no, it's more that You're not, I'm not the Patrick. Patrick can use medicine all he wants, as long as I believe I'm not Patrick, right? It's as Patrick is just a figure within my dream that I'm here to forgive. Um, okay, so it doesn't, and I realize that as much as I can use magic, there's as you're growing, if you realize more and more, I actually keep using it and realize, look and experience for yourself how much it doesn't work. Realize that the misery and the lack and the pain within your mind never goes away. Okay. It does not follow, however, that the use of such agents for corrective purposes is evil. Sometimes the illness has a sufficiently strong hold over the mind to render a person temporarily inaccessible to the atonement. In this case, it may be wise to utilize a compromise approach to mind and body, in which something from the outside is temporarily given healing belief. This is because the last thing that can help the non-right-minded or the sick is an increase in fear. They are already in a fear-weakened state. If they are prematurely exposed to a miracle, they may be precipitated into panic. This is likely to occur when upside-down perception has induced the belief that miracles are frightening. And miracles are frightening, right? When we realize why we created sickness. We created sickness to hide from the deep, awful, horrifying guilt within us, right? They're like, oh, I'd much rather have cancer, right? Than look that to see that I'm the source of all the, or at the belief, the false belief, but the very real feeling belief that I'm the source of all the evil within the world and throughout history, right? Which is the separation from oneness. Um, and so, uh, and so what happens is if you just kind of heal somebody or you create a glitch in their matrix, right? Or in our own, because we're all one anyway. But if you do that and you realize, wait a second, you start to shake that belief that this world is not an objective world. I'm not just poor little innocent me within the big bad world. That like you just create a miracle healing for somebody when they're not ready, that will bring back that guilt, right? Could be like, oh my God, wait a second, I'm in control of this world. Then what, like, why are there wars? Why are there atrocities? Why are there serial killers, right? Um, that will kind of come in there. It's a logical conclusion. Wait a second, if I'm in control of this illness and I can fix this, why isn't my mind fixing all of the evil within the world? And then you realize, oh wait, I created all that evil. Like that's why miracles create fear, right? And that's why we don't want miracles. We don't want healing because of the guilt, the horrifying guilt within our mind. And that is also why forgiveness heals, because when we release that guilt, when we remember that that guilt is illusion, we are the unchanging, innocent child of God, that is always extending love and could never create anything evil within the world. When that clicks within our mind, then we're like, oh, then we no longer have the need to create atrocities and other somewhat less painful experiences within the world, because we no longer have to hide from this deep, horrifying guilt within us. We can see that it's not true, and so that takes away that investment that we have in illness and the world of bodies and evil and death and whatnot, right? So that's why forgiveness heals, because we release our need for sickness and victimhood and to preserve the face of being a poor victim within the big bad world, right? It's the world, the government's awful. It's Justin Trudeau. He's the one that ruined the country. It wasn't me, right? We love that, right? So if you start to create healings, it's going to start to run. It's going to awaken within you all of those other thoughts, right? Those logical conclusions, right? Why could you heal your broken leg and not solve world hunger, right? Or genocide that might be happening somewhere within the world. That's scary until you've started to practice forgiveness and realize the truth of what we really are. Okay. So the value of the atonement. So sorry, yeah, going back to that. Yeah, so sometimes in order to not fully awaken that the fact that we're the cause of everything within the world, not just Patrick's little life, using magic on some level, we can still awaken while using magic, right? We can realize, okay, well, wait, I'm going to take a pill, but I'm also going to practice forgiveness, and I'm going to do both at the same time. And part of my mind, I'll let my Patrick self believe, okay, well, this healing came from taking Advil, but I'm slowly starting to let that go and realizing that I'm going to practice forgiveness. So, because there's two minds seemingly happening, right? There's Patrick, and then there's the deeper mind, which is the Holy Spirit. And so, as we're starting to access the Holy Spirit more and more, we can still allow Patrick to believe in magic while he's still invested in it. Okay. So, the value of the atonement does not lie in the matter in which it is expressed. In fact, if it is used truly, it will inevitably be expressed in whatever way is most helpful to the receiver. This means that a miracle, to attain its full efficacy, must be expressed in a language that the recipient can understand without fear. This does not necessarily mean that this is the highest level of communication of which he is capable. It does mean, however, that it is the highest level of communication which he is capable now. The whole aim of the miracle is to raise the level of communication, not to lower it by increasing fear. So this is why, if we remember the principles of miracles, when we're noticing the call for love, our purpose here is not to go, oh my God, you're sick, you need healing, I'm going to give you healing, here's the Course in Miracles, learn this lesson, right? Rather, it is to realize, wait, here is a call for love within my mind, and then just to notice and ask the Holy Spirit to supply that lack. The Holy Spirit being us, right? So notice the call for love, and then feel the love start to flow towards that seeming problem within the world for yourself or others. And then, so it's never about what you do. What you do might flow from that, but it's not really you that's doing it anyway, because we're not really this Patrick character. But that might flow. When we enter the state of love, then we might say something, do something that will then do something. But that's not really the miracle. The miracle is the noticing the call for love, and then experiencing that love begin to flow. And so that's why miracles should never be under conscious control, right? So it's not like, oh my God, my uncle has cancer, I need to heal that, I need to fix that right now. Because the problem is within our mind that is seeing your uncle as a body, right? It's not just that you're seeing him as a body with cancer. The problem is also that you're seeing him as a body at all that is vulnerable to cancer. Because what are you going to pray for? That the cancer goes away and he dies a few years later, right? And then he's separated from you forever, right? Who heals somebody within this world that doesn't eventually die and become separate from everyone, right? It's kind of a logical fallacy. So what happens is, instead, what we do is we just notice, okay, wait a second, this situation with my uncle or whatever is upsetting to me. And so what I'm noticing is fear within myself. And then I ask the Holy Spirit within my mind, help me to see the call for love. And we feel the call for love start to flow. And we start to remember that person, as the Holy Spirit comes in and fills our mind, realize, you are not the body, you are free. You remain just as God created you, holy and innocent, always loving, unable to harm or be harmed by anyone. And then I release this line I love to use, which is, I release you from this character that I've made you into. And I choose to see you and experience you as the light. And then you just feel the love flow. See the call for love, allow the love to flow. And that is the healing. And that, as that sinks in deeper and that becomes your primary experience of that other person, rather than as a vulnerable body that, even if it was healed, is still vulnerable to cancer, could get cancer another day, or another month. Instead, you see them as the Christ, as imperturbable, as unending light, as eternal, as one with you and can never be taken away. That's healing. That's the deep healing. And so the problem is in your mind. When anytime you think you consciously need to heal someone or consciously need to heal yourself or whatever, the problem is in your mind because you're seeing yourself as a body. And that's right. What we think is the problem is I'm seeing myself as a sick body. No, the problem is that you're seeing yourself as a body at all. And we're not open to that at the beginning. But as you do, you realize that hoping for healing as a body is just, yeah, like I said, asking for breadcrumbs, right? Or hoping for a, a, a 5-minute truce on a battlefield of a gory war, right? Like truce is nothing, right? That's not safety. That's not peace. Um, uh, you cannot be peace. You cannot find peace within the battlefield, right? And that's one of the lines from the course, different chapter. But anyway, so what needs healing really is our mind, and not what seems to be happening to that other person, because we're not experiencing the truth of it, and so it's our mind that needs to be healed. Anyway, so that's what raising the level of communication is, right? And when we do that within our mind, right, rather than going and trying to fix the dream, even doing it on a spiritual level, even praying to the ego God, save this person and heal his cancer, whatever, right? Um, uh, that's not that's still a reaffirmation that the world is the cause of our misery, right? And that there's an objective world outside of our mind. Okay, so I've gone a little over there. Oh, I know I've gone quite a bit here, but if anybody has any questions before we go to the meditation, just let me know. I'll open it up. If not, I'd be happy just to go to our lesson, which is lesson 270. This is from a later part of the workbook that I honestly have not done yet. I'm just beginning it again now because I think I'm starting lesson 220 tomorrow. So this is the second part of the workbook. I've just redone the first part multiple times. But I think it is powerful. So a little more contemplative. There's going to be a little more silence in this meditation. But the way it works essentially in this section of the workbook is you reflect on the same reflection every week, which is for the one we're going to look at here, it's what is the body? And then there's a prayer kind of that you contemplate that's different every day. So it's the same part for most of the week and then little parts that are different. So so we're going to be looking at what is the body. So Boris and in Beyond the Matrix will go over this part, and then the prayer. But what I, in kind of picking this lesson, what I am inviting you to is to reevaluate our understanding of the body, right? Because when we're praying for healing, we're praying for the healing because healing is of the body, of our bank account, of our relationships, or whatever we see within the world, the body's world that it lives in. We need to look at what we're hoping for, right? Because so often we're hoping for a healthier body, right? Healthier vessel of death, a healthier attack thought on our oneness with God and with one another, right? So we really need to look at that, right? If we're really going to understand healing, we need to look at what are we healing for? What are we praying for, right? And often we're praying for death, right? We're praying, make me a healthier body so I can stay a separate, happy ego, separate from God and from everyone else, right? That's kind of what we're doing, right? So what really needs healing is our own understanding of the body, our own understanding of what the problem really is. And so and that requires moving to the level of spirit, moving to the level of mind, where true peace, bliss, oneness, unending joy can really emerge within our mind. So we need to reevaluate the body as like our body being well or healthy or having a good life will never make us happy. And so when we can let the body go and realize that it will never be the source of our happiness ever, nor will it ever be the source of our pain. Our pain was only ever because we believed we were separate from God. It was never because we have an unhealthy body or because we have a miserable life that's full of tumultuous relationships and a life that is destined to end in the grave, right? Okay, so that's what we're going to look at. And then 270 is what I picked out here, which is that I will not use the body's eyes today. And so what I'm inviting you to here is if we're looking at anything in your mind, in your apparent life, or anything in your external world that you feel needs healing, what we need to always remember is that we need to look with our spiritual vision, right? The eyes of peace, which are not the eyes we have with our body. Our body will only see separation, will only see problems, and there's no solution that we can find within the world we see with our eyes. So we need to give that up. Nothing I see means anything. That's not a statement of emptiness. It opens us up to spiritual vision where we can find the truth, the oneness, the Christ within others that will actually make us happy. And when we can start to see that, develop that spiritual vision, that's where our healing will really come through. Okay, let's move in.
Remember who and what you truly are, beyond the matrix of fear, lack, and limitation. All that seems to limit you in this world is only an illusion that demands your continued belief and attention in order to have any power over you. Now is your opportunity to let go of whatever stands in the way of your complete awareness of your true and original self. Sit back with your spine upright. Get comfortable and take a deep, slow breath. And as you exhale, release both past and future. Release both memory and imagination, and become fully present in the now. And let's begin. The contemplation with which we begin today's practice is this: what is the body? From a greater awareness, the body is seen as a temporary, illusory, and ego-driven concept that is used in the dream matrix as a substitute identity to replace the awareness of your true self. The body is like a fence that an aspect of yourself imagines exists to separate parts of itself from other parts. It is within this fence that it thinks it lives, to die as the body decays and crumbles. The body is a dream. Like other dreams, it sometimes seems to picture happiness, but can quite suddenly revert to fear, where every dream is born. For only love creates in truth, and truth can never fear. Made to be fearful, must the body serve the purpose given to it. But we can change the purpose which the body will obey by changing what we think that it is for. Consider the body's purpose from this perspective. Instead of being your prison, where you are doomed to loss, lack, limitation, and ultimately death, the body can be seen as the means by which you return to the full awareness of your true self. In the dream matrix, the body was made to fence you into limitation and death without escape. Yet now, the goal of heaven has been exchanged for the fascination with separation and pain. And now the body is holy, for it serves a holy purpose. It now serves to heal the mind that it was meant to lead to death. You will identify with what you think will make you safe. Whatever it may be, you will believe that it is one with you. The body-based identity is a false promise that seems to offer safety through separation. And yet your safety lies in truth and not in lies. Love is your safety. Separation and fear do not exist. Identify with love and you are safe. Identify with love and you are home. Identify with love and you will find your true self. Take a moment now to contemplate the contrast between the ego's perspective that your safety and home are in the body and the perspective of truth that where you are is in the mind of the infinite creator, and it is here that your safety is guaranteed by God. Allow this contemplation to saturate your mind, to shape your perceptions, your thoughts, and your decisions, transforming the way that you see and illuminating the way of awakening to the truth. Take the next minute or so to do this now. And now, take a deep, slow breath, and as you let it go, Let your mind and body relax. Allow all tension to dissipate as you let go of the past and the future, and allow yourself to come fully into presence now. Words and concepts will mean little to us now, for now we seek the direct experience of truth alone. We leave the thoughts of the dream matrix behind and will to enter the kingdom of peace within. And here we wait in quiet expectation for the direct experience of God and the revelation of our oneness with our source and our unity with all things. So take one more deep, slow, and full breath in. And as you let it go, open your mind to take in the idea with which we practice today. I will not use the body's eyes today. Infinite Creator, Christ's vision is your gift to me, and it has the power to translate all that the body's eyes behold into the sight of a forgiven world. How glorious and gracious is this world! Yet how much more will I perceive in it than sight can give? The world forgiven signifies that I have acknowledged you, God, and let my dreams be brought to truth at last. I await the one remaining instant of time, which ends forever as your memory returns to me completely. And now, my will is one with yours. My function now is but your own, and every thought except your own is gone. The quiet of today will bless our hearts, and through them, peace will come to everyone. Christ's vision is our eyes today, and through His sight, we offer healing to the world through Him by seeing the truth behind every appearance and acknowledging the spark of the infinite Creator in all that we behold. The body's eyes outpicture separation. We are not asked to wear blindfolds today, but rather to view perception itself from a higher level of consciousness. This higher vision allows us to perceive a world that has been forgiven and freed from the judgments and illusions created by our physical sight. It is a beautiful realization that this world is already gracious and glorious. When When we acknowledge God and forgive the world, we align with the truth. We prepare ourselves for that precious moment when time, as we know it, ends, and we fully remember our divine essence, merging our will with the Creator's. Infinite Creator, Christ's vision is your gift to me, and it has the power to translate all that the body's eyes behold into the sight of a forgiven world. How glorious and how gracious is this world, yet how much more will I perceive in it than sight can give.
I'm just going to invite you here as we kind of go more into the silent part of this meditation. If you're like me, your mind tends to race around to different problems and thoughts. So as that happens, just invite that to come in and just apply the idea as it comes up to all those problems or thoughts or whatever come into your mind. So if a thought of a problem comes up, you look at it within your mind and just say, I will not use the body's eyes today. And just invite the Holy Spirit and invite the Christ vision that we're talking about here to come and transform what you're seeing in that problem into the forgiven world. So don't be afraid of racing thoughts or different things or popping into your mind. Just apply them as they come up and just allow them to be transformed. right, I'm just going to end it there because we have gone a little longer today. But I will just end it by repeating the prayer from that lesson, just to leave that with you. Father, Christ's vision is your gift to me, and it has power to translate all that the body's eyes behold into the sight of a forgiven world. How glorious and gracious is this world, this forgiven world. Yet how much more will I perceive in it than sight can give. The world forgiven signifies your Son acknowledges his Father, lets his dreams be brought to truth, and waits expectantly the one remaining instant more of time which ends forever, as your memory returns to him. And now his will is one with yours. His function now is but your own, and every thought except your own is gone. All right. So with that, I'll end it there. We'll open it up if anybody has anything to share, any comments, questions, or anything. I'll end the recording.
Just thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. All right.